The island wasn't on the map yesterday. I know that for a fact, because I checked the coordinates 3 times before we left the dock. Open water, nothing but blue. But this morning, there it was, a dark shape rising out of the sea like it had always belonged there. And somehow, we were already sailing toward it. The closer we got, the stranger the water became. The waves flattened, smoothing out like glass. The wind died. Even the engine's hum sounded muted, like something was pressing against the air. "Tell me you see that, too," Liam said quietly. Edges shimmered faintly, as if it hadn't fully decided what shape to be. We dropped anchor, anyway. That was our first mistake. The beach was empty when we stepped onto it. Grey sand, no shells, no driftwood, no sign that anything living had ever touched it. The air smelled faintly metallic, like rain before a storm. Ava turned slowly in a circle. "It feels unused." That was the perfect word. Unused. Like a room that had been built but never entered. We moved inland, drawn by a cluster of tall stone pillars visible beyond a stretch of pale grass. They stood in a perfect ring, each carved with thin lines that twisted into spirals. The symbols weren't ancient-looking. They looked unfinished. Halfway to the pillars, I noticed something that made my stomach tighten. Footprints. 3 sets, leading from the beach to the stone circle. "They're ours, right?" Liam asked. They weren't. The tread was wrong, deeper, slightly longer stride, and they were fresh. We followed them anyway. The air grew heavier with each step. Not humid, heavy, like pressure building before something breaks. When we reached the circle, the footprints stopped at the center. No return tracks. Ava stepped closer to one of the pillars. "It's warm," she said, touching the stone. The second she did, the ocean roared. We spun around. The water wasn't flat anymore. Waves crashed violently against the shore, but they made no sound. The motion was there, but the noise was gone. Then the humming started. Low, steady, vibrating through the ground. The carvings on the pillars shifted slightly, not moving like they were alive, just rearranging. Lines closing in, spirals tightening. The footprints at our feet deepened, as if someone were standing helpfully back inside them. "Back to the boat," I said. We ran, but the beach wasn't where it had been. The shoreline stretched farther away than before, the boat now a small dark speck in the distance. The path behind us blurred, the grass flattening smooth. Halfway there, I glanced down. New footprints were forming beside ours, keeping pace, matching every step. When we stopped, they stopped. When we ran, they ran. And just before we reached the sand, I looked back one last time. 3 figures stood inside the stone circle, not moving, not chasing, just watching. They weren't clear enough to see faces, but their outlines were familiar. Too familiar. We made it to the boat and scrambled in, yanking the anchor up with shaking hands. The engine roared back to life, louder than ever now, as if relieved. As we sped away, I checked the map again. Open water. No island, no strange landmass. Nothing. Liam let out a shaky laugh. Guess it was some kind of mirage. I nodded slowly, but I didn't look at him. Because in the reflection of the dark screen beside me, I could see 3 shapes standing on the deck behind us. Perfectly still. And they were finally exactly where our footprints had ended. Subscribe for more.